The Void War Great Horizons is a brick film created by Twisted Bricks and his team. They've been working on it for the past 2.5 years, and I'm not gonna lie, it's actually a really good brick film. If you're looking for something really cool to watch, like a brick film, if you're a fan of stop motion and you're a fan of brick films, I would definitely recommend watching this film. The film, let's just talk about a really quick summary of what the film is about. So it takes place thousands of years into the future. Mankind is at a war with this strange fungus that has appeared called Slag. It's this strange sentient fungus that consumes and it infects everything that it touches, and they're in this ongoing war with it. And we follow these survivors of this war, and they're living on this ship called the Impervious, this spaceship, and there's an infection, not infection, and contamination on the ship, and there's a lot of people get infected. There's a lot of contamination on the ship, so they have to clean the ship using a protocol, and the protocol basically wipes out all life on the ship so that they can restart everything. And it's up to our survivors, the ones we're following in the movie, it's up to them to get to a stronghold before time runs out. Otherwise, they will be evaporated with everything else on the ship. And I'm not gonna lie, this film is actually good. Be sure to go check the film out if you are interested in it. There's a lot of cool things in this film. I think it's actually a good brick film. I think it's a good film overall. Definitely be sure to go check it out. I'll leave links to everything in the description. It's only $2 on Patreon, guys. And if you want to watch, there's the first 40 minutes of this film. The first 40 minutes of this film is available on Twisted Bricks' YouTube channel. So if you want to watch the first half of this film, and if you like what you see on there, be sure to go check out the rest. Again, it's only $2 on Patreon, and I'll leave links to everything in the description. So let's talk about the actual film. The film is actually good from a critical standpoint. I will say there was a lot of impressive stop motion in this film. Comparing it to other stuff that Twisted Bricks has made, to what Kristian's made, there's a lot of cool things in this film, a lot of cool techniques. There's a lot of advanced lighting techniques. There's a lot of advanced stop motion. There's a lot of advanced camera techniques. A lot of things. You got to remember that it's hard to do some of these things in stop motion. So for him to kind of go the extra mile in this film, it really showed how far he's come since like what he's. If you've seen his other stuff, it shows you how much better he's gotten. So again, the stop motion in this was amazing. I loved the lighting techniques. I loved everything in this film. Stop motion was amazing. I also like how the film mixed in some 3D animation in there. I'm pretty sure that was done using Blender, but pretty good animation there as well for the most part. Overall, again, the animation was definitely the highlight for me. I loved it. The storytelling in this was also good as well. It definitely felt like a real movie. It definitely felt like something you'd see in theaters. I liked the story of this film. It felt familiar, but also very different to what you'd see in other films. I liked a lot of these characters as well. The characters in this film were also good. I feel like most of them were developed pretty well. I feel like some of them could have used a little more development, but I feel like they needed more development, but not in this film. I feel like they need more development in other films. And since this film is supposed to be a part of a 3-movie trilogy, I totally understand why there wasn't a lot of focus on certain characters. Again, some characters could have used more focus, but I feel like that should be saved for other films. Now, usually with movies, there's one or two things that I don't like about it, but for this movie, there wasn't really anything about it that I said, oh, that's bad, that needs to be changed. There was nothing I said, hey, that really ruined the movie. Overall, I would say that this movie doesn't have any flaws. Like, it doesn't have many flaws. There's only nitpicks, in my opinion. I do have a few nitpicks here and there that we'll talk about in just a second, but overall, I would say that this is a good brick film. It's overall very, very well put together. There's a lot of cool things to enjoy in this. The characters are cool. The story is cool. The cinematography, especially with the stop motion, the animation, the lighting, the special effects, the music as well. That was all very well put together, especially the editing as well. Very good. Very well put together. Now, let's talk about the nitpicks, though. I had a few nitpicks, and one of them was that Huxley, the main character of the movie, he has these apparitions and hallucinations in the film that, like, they're spread out throughout the entire film. And basically, he's had some trauma in his past, and we don't fully know exactly what that was about. We get a little bit of hints here and there, but I would have liked to see more of what it was actually about. And I actually emailed Kristian, the creator, and he told me that it was being saved for another film. That explanation was being saved for another film, which is totally fine if it is being saved for another film. That's one of the hard things about reviewing a movie like this, is that since it is a part of a 3-movie trilogy, if it is like, if there is something in here that I do not like or I think should be changed or improved, then it's kind of hard because maybe that will be improved in the future movie. You know what I mean? It's a little hard. But yeah, I think that it could have used a little more focus, but since it's going to be saved for another movie, then not for the second movie, then I think that's fine. I will say though, if Kristian does decide to not use, like, to not explain that trauma in the second movie, there is a place to perfectly include it. There's a scene where Huxley, the main character, he goes to sleep, and there not much really happens there, but if he goes to sleep and he has a nightmare and then wakes up and has an interaction with one of the other characters, Iris, then I feel like that would be the perfect way to explain what his trauma was without having to include it in the second movie. That's if it doesn't get included in a future movie. The perfect way to fix that would be to add a scene where he has a nightmare about it, about the actual event that's causing the trauma, something like that. That's the perfect way to fix that. Another problem or not really problem, every time I say problem in this review, it's more like a nitpick. Another nitpick that I have is that there's not a lot of action in this film. There's a lot of good dialogue. Of course, everything else in this film is great. The action, there is some action in this movie, and that action is good, but I do feel like there's a little bit of a lack of it. I feel like it kind of feels like Moon Knight. Moon Knight had like a mystery going on, and while the mystery was really good, and that's really what the best of the show was about, we all wanted to see a little more action. And the finale of Moon Knight was the perfect opportunity to give us more action, but they didn't give us a lot. Here is the same thing in my opinion. The whole movie's really good, and it has interesting characters and everything like that to keep you in. There is some action here and there, but it didn't feel like it was it didn't feel like there was that much in it. I would say that I think if there was a scene that right before they get to the stronghold, I would have added, and this is just me, I think I would have added a scene, like a big fight scene of them just having to go through one last room before they get to the stronghold, then have that be kind of like the final battle. Then after that, when they get to the stronghold, that could be like the final climax. I just would have liked to see a little more action, especially with like the more improved animation. It would have been cool to see more of that. Again, it's fine without anything like that, but it would have been cool to see more of it. Another thing about the film that I feel like could have been done a little bit better is that it really doesn't feel like it takes them that long to get from point A to point B, in my opinion. They have to go through this sort of journey to get to the stronghold, and I want to say it takes them like 40 minutes. I might have to check that again, but it does take them a decent amount of time to get there, but it didn't feel like it took them that long to get there. It feels like before you know it, they're already at point B, you know? Like it really does feel like that, in my opinion. It feels like it doesn't take them that long to get to somewhere. It really doesn't feel like that. Even though there are several things that happen, it didn't feel like it took them that long. And I also feel like they should have, I feel like the characters should have been a little more worried about the evaporation. I feel like the idea of getting evaporated and that's how you die with no trace left, something like that would have been very scary to think about, but it didn't feel like it was that urgent in this movie, I will admit. Like, it didn't feel like it was as urgent as it should have been. It should have been like, hey, it should have been a little more scary. It should have been a little more of a threat to them, thinking, hey, we got to get here soon or else we're going to be disintegrated. You know, it's a scary thought. It's a scary thought, but it wasn't as like scary, or it didn't seem as much of a threat in the movie as I think it could have felt like. And in the movie, they say that our main characters are like the last survivors on that ship, and it was a little just hard for me to believe that there were only a few people left alive, and like only so many of them could have made it to the stronghold. Like, when you look at the size of the Impervious, which, by the way, it's like the size of a Star Destroyer from Star Wars, it looks like there must be like 500,000 people on that ship. That's how big it looks. Here is almost the same thing. I'm like, you can't tell me that like all of them died. Like, maybe all of them did die, But I feel like maybe showing us more of that, maybe showing us more of like, because we see a few scenes of people getting contaminated and like rooms of people getting killed and stuff like that. But I feel like if they made it, I feel like if the movie had done a better job at showing us that the entire ship is dead, then it would have been a little more believable. I feel like if there were a few scenes of just maybe surveillance footage of countless rooms getting slaughtered, and we see just a few people making it out, something like that, or a few people making it off of other escape pods. You know, is like a few characters that make it off of escape pods. If they did something, if there was something like that in the movie where we get to see a bunch of people getting killed, like not just a few, a bunch of people getting killed, and it makes it more believable that the entire ship is dead, or at least most of the people on the ship are dead. And if we see some people jumping out of escape pods and actually making it out, then I think it would have been more believable. I think my final nitpick with the film has to be that the cliffhanger at the end of the movie is not that, it's not that suspenseful in my opinion. I think that, and I know y'all are gonna ask, oh, what is the cliffhanger? What is the cliffhanger? Definitely watch the movie. But basically, another contamination happens. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought this cliffhanger could have been a lot more suspenseful. We've seen so many monstrous creatures in this universe, like versions of Slag, that is so monstrous and so like creepy and nasty and stuff, that in that movie, like, or not in the movie, in that cliffhanger, when we see just a normal looking Slag, a normal looking blob, it doesn't feel like it's that threatening. It really did not feel like it was that threatening. If it was a creepy looking one and you see like multiple people getting killed, we see like one or two people get killed by it. If it was so many people getting killed by it and it seemed like something like out of control already, then I think it would have been a little better. It would have made it really seem more of a threat, more of something to be worried about. Here it seems like a small Slag, a small little blob. It doesn't feel like it's that important. It doesn't feel like it's that threatening to us or the audience, or it doesn't feel like it's that threatening to our characters. It looks like one little Slag character, one little monster that it feels like any character could probably just go over there and kill. It doesn't feel like an unstoppable monster that, you know, we haven't seen before, or something that, you know, it's out of our control already. You know what I mean? Now, I said that was the last nitpick, but I do have one more, just a really, really quick one. I will say that there was this scene where this guy screams, right? And he basically gets infected, and he screams really loudly, or it's supposed to be very loud, but I don't know who voiced him. I'm not trying to be rude to whoever voiced him, but the scream that he gave off did not sound very, like, it didn't sound very painful. It didn't sound very powerful, in my opinion. Like, it didn't sound as, like, powerful as it should have been, and I feel like if it was more powerful, it would have given more impact to the audience. And then the following scene right after that, or no, it's in the same scene, but right after that, there's a transformation where he starts to go like vampire style, or not vampire, like Frankenstein, or not Frankenstein. Why am I keep saying Frankenstein? Werewolf style, starts to turn into a monster, right? And I feel like if it had been more painful, like there's some screams here and there, but they're kind of muffled, and they don't seem very painful. They don't seem very loud. You know, I feel like if those screams were louder and it seemed like a painful process, it would have been something that was unsettling, and it would have been something that was unsettling, and it would have been something that felt really important and really creepy, you know? But because the scream doesn't sound very painful, it doesn't sound very loud, it doesn't sound very powerful. I know powerful is a weird word to use, but it doesn't feel very powerful. If it was more powerful, and I feel like if the screams were more painful, maybe adding some like bone crunching effects when he turns into a Slag monster, it would have been like, man, unsettling, and it would have felt weird, you know, but in a good way. It would have been like, man, that must hurt, like something like that. It would have felt a lot more impactful, basically. But those are basically all of my nitpicks. Again, I'm trying to give my constructive criticism, because I know Kristian's going to watch this video. I have a good feeling he's going to watch this video. This is just my constructed criticism, Christian. I'm not trying to trash on your movie. I'm not trying to do anything like that. I'm just trying to give my constructive criticism so that the future movies can be better. You know what I mean? I think that's the best thing. I think that sometimes that's the best thing somebody can do is give criticism, constructed criticism to somebody to improve. And I feel like improvement's very important to basically everything in your daily life. But yeah, this movie's great. I loved it. There's a lot of good things in this movie. Of course, I had some nitpicks, but I always have nitpicks with every movie. What did y'all think of this movie? Did y'all like this movie? Did you enjoy it? Have y'all seen it? Be sure to go check it out. If you want to see the first half of this film, it's on Twisted Bricks' channel. Overall, great film. The music was good. The animation was good. The voice acting was good for the most part. The story was good. I already say story. Everything about it. Overall, good film. I'd have to give it like an 8 out of 10. I usually don't do that, but yeah. Good film. Overall, good film. Be sure to go check out the first half of it on Twisted Bricks' channel. And if you want to see the full movie or the second half of the movie, be sure to go check it out on Patreon. It's only $2. But yeah, what did y'all think of this movie? Have y'all seen it? I'm not sure. But thank you all so much for watching. God bless you guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Be sure to go check out Twisted Brick's channel. Go drop a sub and go check out his new film, his new feature-length film, Great Horizons. Again, you can check it out on Patreon for $2, or you can check out the first half of it on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you guys, and I'll see you all next time.